So this obviously for me brings up thoughts of when we talk about whistleblowing about Julian Assange and what he's going through right now. And to me, I've viewed this for a long time that if we actually do extradite Julian Assange and try him for espionage, we're basically ending our First Amendment. Like that's
without a doubt. This is
like
a direct attack on the media. Yes, without a doubt. And shame on the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and others for not leaping to his defense because they're next.
Yeah.
If Julian Assange is convicted, he's going to be tried in the Eastern District of Virginia if he's extradited. If he's convicted, then every working journalist in America is going to be a target.
Yeah, it's extremely scary. And not only are they not covering it, it's almost like they're covering it up. Yes. I have noticed that for years. I've been very well versed in what's going on with Julian. I've been following this for probably 8 or 9 years now. And it's just out of control what's going on with him. And it's similar to what happened to you in that what they're really wanting to get him for is not how this all ended up getting wrapped up for him. He ended up, I mean, they charged him with like sexual assaults that were bogus and like ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, that's a strategy. They do that now. It's a strategy that they've developed after I was arrested and Tom Drake was arrested and Chelsea Manning and Ed Snowden. They developed this policy where they will charge you with sexual impropriety of some sort. Look at people like Matt DeHart, for example, or the Vault 7 whistleblower. What they'll do is charge you with, let's say, child porn or sexual assault in the case of Julian. And then when they come up to trial, they drop it and they say, oh, well, no, our bad. There was no child porn on the computer. We made a mistake. That's what they did with Matt DeHart. They incarcerated him because they said they found child porn on his computer. There was no child porn. It's completely made up. Completely and totally made up. Now they're telling us that we should believe that there's child porn on the Vault 7 whistleblowers hard drive or that Julian raped 2 Swedish women. And then, no, that falls apart. But, he's a really bad guy otherwise. He leaked all this information.
I still can't figure out how you can charge somebody that's not a U.S. citizen under the Espionage Act.
Nor do I.
Isn't that, I mean, Julian's an Australian national.
That's right.
And so how can he be, and I'm an attorney, so I look at this and I'm like, how does he have any responsibility to protect our country, even if he was doing what they said? I mean, why is he even, why do we have any say so about what Julian Assange does?
Yeah, that's right. He's under no legal obligation to protect national defense information. None whatsoever. In fact, he's a journalist. He's won journalistic awards. And this is why I say, if he's convicted, then every national security reporter in America is going to be a target. Interesting enough, too, as you mentioned, Julian is an Australian citizen. I've given many interviews to Australian journalists about Julian and his case, and no one ever asks me about the efficacy of a prosecution using the Espionage Act. It's like nobody's thinking about it. Nobody's talking about it. He should never have been charged in the first place. Now, Chelsea Manning was charged with multiple counts of espionage. And
that's different.
That's different.
Yes.
That's different. And the FBI and the CIA maintain that Julian solicited the information and then assisted Chelsea in hacking into the system. There's no evidence that ever happened.
No, I mean, they held her for how long trying to get her to basically say, oh, Assange is who guided me to do this because that's what they want. And she's tough. She didn't, that's another one that I feel like as a citizen in this country, we can't pay her back enough. Like, I don't know how people can have anything but admiration for her. And yet
mad respect for Chelsea Manning. I know Chelsea relatively well, not very, very well, not like, Tom Drake or Ed Snowden or some of the others, but Chelsea is disarming because she's very soft spoken. She's very down to earth. She's not an imposing figure in any way. And then she is tougher than 99.9% of the men that I know.
Yeah.
Will not buckle to the Justice Department. I have crazy respect for that.
Yeah.
Because most people would just cave. If they say, look, just testify against Julian or you go to prison. Her response is, lock me up.
Yeah.
I'm not saying a word.
Yeah.
And she puffs it out until the bitter end.
It's crazy. So why did they finally release her this time?
The only reason they released her, there was a lot of public pressure. It wasn't the public pressure that got her released. It was the fact that, well, it was two things. One, the judge finally came to an understanding that she really was not going to testify, period. She just wasn't going to testify. And the other thing was that the prosecutors were not going to add any more charges against Julian for which they would need Chelsea's information to support. And so finally the judge said, just let her out.
It's just unbelievable. But without that, they really don't have anything, which then I still don't understand how they're going to have a legitimate case against him.
No,
I don't see.
There's got to be one juror out there who is going to have the fortitude to stand up and say, this is.
I hope so.
I hope so. You know what, though? I'll tell you another little anecdote about my own case. My best friend's wife has an uncle who happened to be O.J. Simpson's jury consultant.
That's random. Okay.
Yeah, totally random. Washington's a very small town.
Yeah.
So God bless him. He flew up here from Dallas. We got him a security clearance. He went through all the paperwork. I had 15,000 pages of classified documents that we were using for my defense. And then we all got together for a meeting at the attorney's conference room. And he said, look, if this were any other district in America besides the Eastern District of Virginia, he said, I'd say, let's go for it. We're going to win this thing. You haven't done anything wrong. But the Eastern District of Virginia, they call it the espionage court for a reason, because no national security defendant has ever won a case there. So he said, look at your jury. Your jury would be made up of people from the CIA, the Pentagon, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and a myriad of intelligence community contractors or their relatives. He said, you don't stand a chance.
Yeah.
Just take the deal. And so I took the deal.
Yeah, no, and we railroad people for everything all the time. So it's not even remotely surprising to me. And coming from a criminal defense background, this is not uncommon by any stretch. What can we do for whistleblowers? Because obviously there's beyond blackballing and ghosting from mainstream media. And, independent media does a decent job. I mean, obviously I've seen you on shows and I've seen good coverage of Julian and there are things out there, but is there anything or think of that we can do so that more people can understand what's going on here?
That's a very tough question. It's far tougher than it sounds. And people ask me all the time, and I don't really have a perfect answer. So I'll tell you what I generally tell people. It's incumbent upon all of us to constantly be out there talking about these issues. This topic is a public service. Yeah. People need to hear these issues because they're important to all of us. They're really critical. Number two, we have to ride our elected officials. We have to call them and write them and email them and demand that they support national security whistleblowers. We have to demand real congressional oversight of organizations like the CIA and NSA and the FBI and the rest of them.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, just by their very nature, they run rampant, roughshod over our civil liberties.
And let me explain to people that are listening, because a lot of people listen to this are probably newbies to a lot of this stuff. And that is what we refer to as the deep state for people that are listening. When I say deep state, we're talking about these executive branch federal agencies that have no accountability to the American people. And basically they have been in charge for a very long time. This goes back 60 years already, at least with those in terms of just complete running amok. And no president that in my lifetime has even attempted to really rein that in.
Yeah, no president. And you made a point when we first started the show, first started talking. that it doesn't matter if it's a red administration or a blue administration. You know, George W. Bush killed 4 people with the use of a drone in his last month as president. Barack Obama killed 424 people with drones in his last month as president. So this isn't exclusive to the Republicans. The Republicans aren't the ones who decided they're going to be jerks to whistleblowers and they're going to use the Espionage Act. This is most certainly bipartisan in nature. You know, I gave an interview to a Chilean newspaper the week that Donald Trump was elected president. And they interviewed me, they interviewed Tom Drake from NSA, and they interviewed Ed Snowden. And they asked all of us if we thought things would be better under Donald Trump or worse under Donald Trump for national security whistleblowers. I foolishly said that I was cautiously optimistic because they couldn't possibly get any worse than they were under Barack Obama.
Never say that.
It was a stupid mistake because, of course, things got worse almost instantaneously.
Yeah.
We have Reality Winner serving 5.5 years. She's an NSA whistleblower. We have Terry Albury, who actually is getting out of prison a week from today. The FBI whistleblower. And we know from Jeff Sessions, the former attorney general, and his big mouth, that there are 123 active national security investigations going on right now. So it's far worse than Barack Obama.
Yeah.
And the sentences are longer than they were under Barack Obama.
So how would you foresee, what do you anticipate that we're going to see under a Joe Biden administration regarding some of this and our foreign policy? Obviously, I see him as Obama 2.0.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
I see Kamala as Hillary in a Kamala suit.
Yep.
So
Kamala's a career prosecutor.
Yeah.
Imagine the thousands of lives that she ruined by sending people to prison for long stretches for having, personal use drugs.
So you don't have any high hopes for the Biden administration for anything?
No, I don't.